Hello and welcome. So today I am in Mitre Square and I came here with a great deal of haste and in a bad temper because I wanted to film here. And the reason I was in a bad temper, well, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's about all of these reports of the fourth victim of Jack the Ripper and the fact that Jack the Ripper has been identified due to DNA evidence. And the point of what I'm going to say right now is this, that he has not, and this is nothing better than a hoax about the identification, because there's a huge amount of questions. Now, the first thing though I'm going to point out is this. I have a video which dates to 2010, and this looks completely different. Indeed, I walked around right now and I thought, hang on, what have they done with it? Mitre Square has disappeared. Well, first thing is there's a big tall building up here which completely threw me. I'll see if I can show it to you. Up there, look how big it is. Fantastic a development. But the school is still here, as it can be seen in my video from 2010, and the location of the fourth murder actually took place here, although it's very difficult to recognize from the photograph. And though the very strange thing is what appears to be the former entrance, the former gateway into this building was actually still there as well in 1888, but for the rest of it though, it is completely different. So now, why am I so wound up about these reports? Well, today I went through Google. I put in Jack the Ripper DNA evidence, 100 stories as far as I got. I mean, they were still coming up, I'm sure they've got many, and they were all proclaiming, except for two, that the identity of Jack the Ripper had been discovered, and that is absolutely not true. So the fourth murder took place over there in that corner. The name Catherine Eddowes. She was born on the 4th of April 1842. She had been hop picking in Kent. She came back to London. She was found by the police drunk not so far from here in Aldgate High Street. She was taken to the Bishopsgate police station, and there she was allowed to sober up. 5 hours later, more or less, she was released onto the world, and within a short time she was found here dead. So I'll do a longer video on Catherine Eddowes if there's any demand for it, although I need to point out there's a number of people who have already done similar things, and I'm sure theirs is much better than what I could do. What I'm now going to do though is I'm going to start questioning some of this nonsense which I've actually seen in the press, and whereas I might expect the likes of the Daily Mail or Sky News Australia not to bother checking its facts because it would rather listen to conspiracies, there are some others whom I would have expected a little bit of professionalism from. Now, according to the story that said from this new pseudo evidence, let's call it, a shawl belonging to Catherine Eddowes was tested for DNA, and it was found to have the DNA of her, which you would expect, and also the suspect, whose name is Aaron Kosminski. Now, Aaron Kosminski, and a person called Kosminski, was noted as a suspect at the time of the murders in 1888. So this murder here took place on the 30th of September 1888. However, the first name of Aaron, that only came up in the second half of the 20th century, so there was no evidence of him being a suspect actually before then. Now, this shawl it turned up in rather dubious circumstances. It was said to have been taken by a police officer from the scene, and then it was in a family, and the family tradition had it that this was the shawl of Catherine Eddowes' shawl, and then it came into the hands of a historian, and he put it for DNA evidence, and what a surprise, it just turned out to be exactly what he was hoping for. Now, there's a number of flaws in this story, and I'm going to go through them right now. And the first thing is there's absolutely no evidence that Catherine Eddowes had this shawl on her. There is a list. The police made a list of all her possessions. It is not there anywhere. Now, okay, explanation, well, it was taken from the murder scene. Well, okay. And now, the person who took it, a Mr. Simpson, Arnold Simpson, if I remember his first name correctly, he was somebody with a lot of experience. He was, I think, in Highgate. And I'll do a video which I can actually back up with more evidence later when I sort of sit down and not do it off the top of my head. But he was based in Highgate. And he... it would appear that when the Whitechapel police did take people from other areas for their investigations, so because this was a major murder inquiry, but this part here, this was controlled by the City of London police, and there was absolutely no reason whatsoever for him to be here. The City of London police had not investigated the other murders, so effectively 2 until that time, because the third murder had happened a few not long before the murder of Catherine Eddowes. So that basing on family evidence, well, I can say it was family. One of my stories in my family sounded, which I believed until I actually investigated it, and it turned out to be a load of nonsense. So that would be the first thing. Now, the second thing is, it was said that there was semen of the killer was actually found on the shawl. Well, that in itself also is highly problematic. The reason it's problematic is that these killings were not of a sexual nature. They were, in no case was there known of being sexual intercourse. It was even in the 1988 Jack the Ripper with Michael Caine, which for a low-budget publication was a film was. Filming was very good, but the story's absolute and utter nonsense. But even then it was said, Sir William Gull, the Queen's physician, said to Michael Caine, the Inspector Abilene, he said, "What, you do surprise me," when he said that there was no sexual contact. So that's the next thing. Now, logic would tell us that, well, maybe this was from another man she'd been with. Maybe it was from her regular partner. And as far as I'm aware, that the descendants of her regular partner have not been examined for their DNA. So that is the next thing. Now, the DNA in a case like this, or mDNA, I don't really know much about DNA. Well, I know as much as you do, probably. But it could really eliminate people, but it can't really incriminate except in exceptional circumstances. Now, everybody of my age will have seen the O.J. Simpson trial and remember Barry Schenck going on and on and on. But in a case like that, I think the evidence was rather strong, and he was found not guilty anyway. But in the case of the DNA evidence that you use here, it goes through the female line. It doesn't go through the male line. Now, Aaron Kosminski, first of all, he's a man, and then the second part, he had no children. So it comes from, the DNA came from a descendant of one of his siblings. So, yet another rather weak problem. Now, DNA may have come from the family, yes, but it may not have come from Catherine Eddowes. It's highly probable that it came from a living member of her family when the shawl was actually shown to them. There's a photograph in the Daily Mail, I think it was, of the person who found the shawl, or not found it, but acquired it, the owner. He is with the family. I mean, did he show it to them beforehand? And here is yet another problem I'm going to come on to now. So maybe I do know a little bit more about DNA, but the DNA itself may have been misidentified. It was reported as being a type 314.1C, which is rare, but apparently it was 3151C, which is shared by 90% of the population of the United Kingdom. So I would say this, based on my limited knowledge of DNA, but using the criticisms of others which have only been in scientific papers, then this is absolutely nonsensical that this has should even have been suggested that the identity is known. Now, as far as Aaron Kosminski himself is concerned, he was one of those people who came as a result of the pogroms that happened after the assassination of the Tsar of Russia, 1882. He came from an area, or his family came from an area which will be well known to my regular viewers, being that the Holocaust is my subject. He came from near Kładava. Indeed, a part of his family came just to the north of where the death camp at Chełmno nad Nerem was, just at hamlet just the south of Powiecie, where people had to get off the trains in 1942, and so that's more the sort of thing I normally do. For me, as a historian, I have to say, I really am shocked at the lack of checking that all of these news outlets did. To me, it's shocking. Anyway, there's a sign here. This is the Holy Trinity Priory, which you can see here, and we've got here a map, and 1676. So there we are there. And there you go. In the early hours of the 30th of September 1888, the body of Catherine Eddowes, the victim of the notorious Whitechapel murders, more commonly known as Jack the Ripper, was discovered in Mitre Square. In the summer of 1888, Eddowes had been casually employed hop-picking in Kent. Back in London on the night of her death, she's recorded her sting in a workhouse. The following day, she was arrested for drunkenness in Aldgate High Street, giving her name as nothing. Within an hour of release, she was found murdered. It does need to be pointed out, actually, when she was released, she did give a name. It wasn't a correct name, but she did give a name, and that itself led to the name she gave did lead to further mystery, being the name of the fifth, or close to the name of the fifth victim. Anyway, but that's not a subject for now. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to put this up as soon as I can, because I'm so wound up about this. And thanks for listening. Normally I upload every Tuesday, every Friday, 2000 hours my time, Central European time. I'm now in London, so I'll be up in 1900 hours here. And good. I mean, I just can't get over how this looks now. I mean, I'll give you a link to the thing I filmed 15 years ago, nearly, and you can see that these houses here, though, they look very, very old, as though they are from the 19th century. And you can see, walking through the streets, you've got some of the other areas which are known to Middlesex Street, but Goldson Street, when Jack the Ripper, I think I should call him that, he killed Catherine here. He ripped off a piece of her apron. This probably came off whilst he was stabbing her, and that bit of the apron he used to wipe his knife with. It was covered in fecal matter, probably because he punctured the intestines with it, and that was found in Goldson Street. And so I was walking down there, and that today looks very, very similar to what it would have done then. But here, I failed to recognise it. So it's been a few years since I was here last. Thanks for watching.